Hello there, and welcome to the JCut.
An insider look at the making of a short film.
From writing and funding
to pre- and post-production and everything in between. I'm Jeff.
I'm Camille.
And this Substack takes you behind the scenes of the filmmaking process as we write, fund, shoot, and hopefully distribute our first major short film.
We're inviting you to join us in our creative process, and we'll be offering you our hard-won tips on creativity, writing, shooting, and editing.
But you can think of this as an equal parts learning resource and VIP access to the making of our short film and series, Queens of Noise. All right. So, who are we and why should you care?
Why should you give a shit?
My name is Jeff, and I'm a professor of digital filmmaking at the University of Colorado, and I've worked in the camera department on features, short film sets, as well as hundreds of commercials and other things over the last 20 years. So I'm going to be sharing what I know about camera, lighting, editing, and lots of other filmmaking techniques as we build up this Substack and produce our next short film.
I'm Camille. I'm a writer, an author, and a social media personality. I'll be offering you writing tips, creative writing tips, novel writing tips, because as we write our first short film, we have about 50 pages of the pilot, and I think we have like 14 pages of the short film script written. I'm also endeavoring to write the Queens of Noise novel, which brings us back to, what is Queens of Noise?
Yeah, so what is Queens of Noise? It's our project, and it's basically our short film, which we'll go into a little bit later about the premise and all those kinds of things. But it's basically our pet project we want you to be a part of. And we hope you can, learn more about filmmaking, get out there and write, produce your own short film.
Yeah, so the JCut is really this podcast, Substack hybrid where we want to give you the tips that we're sort of learning on our own as we do this Queens of Noise project so that you can go out there and do your own thing.
Yeah, we'll be interviewing just different filmmakers, DPs, cinematographers, different people in the industry, producers, other directors and writers who've shot and we've worked with on their short films as well. So, yeah. So let's get into what's, again, Queens of Noise. What's the plot?
Yeah.
What's, why are we so passionate about this story? And, let's get into it.
So I mentioned that as we're working through this, we have close to 50 pages of a TV pilot for Queens of Noise because we hope to turn Queens of Noise into a series. And we are also working on a short film for it. And Queens of Noise is primarily like a dark comedy drama.
Yeah. Like our big inspirations are Better Call Saul, Big Lebowski, Poker Face, Russian Doll. We're into like quirky, kind of fun, Raising Arizona, tinge of Marvelous Miss Maisel.
Yeah.
Tarantino.
Yeah.
We like
a lot of different influences there.
Yeah. So
it's kind of like Thelma and Louise meets The Big Lebowski, but if Walter and the Dude were in a rock band and they were both chicks.
Yeah. Think the dream sequence of Big Lebowski. No, not really. No, it's not gonna. It's gonna be the antithesis of that dream sequence. No, but just kind of inspired by that crazy kooky world of Coen Brothers and Peter Gould and
right. But really like that Better Call Saul influence of Vince Gilligan. And the cinematic qualities that Gilligan brings to both Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad.
Yeah, so that's why we want to do a pilot. We want to eventually make a TV show with this, and hopefully we can bring you guys along that whole process. That would be amazing.
I think the Big Lebowski thing is going to get people excited enough about it.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully we can get close to that.
Yeah. Well,
and,
yeah.
Walter and the Dude.
The Dude. So now we want to actually walk you through the pitch deck of Queens of Noise. So the two main characters are Chloe and Lizzie, and these are characters that I initially created for like a short story project during my creative writing days. And I wrote a couple of short film They were like 3-page scripts about them. And I really liked the idea of having a story that's centered on female musicians because I'm a musician. I was a musician primarily in my very early 20s. And I was a little bit of a musician before that.
And I'm a wannabe musician.
But I liked the idea of having a story about female musicians and a story about female friends and have it be not your typical music-driven show because those get kind of boring.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah, like we want them to be good, but then they end up not.
Yeah, and so it is about their relationship to their creativity and to their dreams of becoming, or, like really going after their dreams of being musicians and putting themselves out there more seriously. But the premise doesn't solely focus on that, and that's where the sort of crime drama element comes in. So it's 2 rocker chicks, 1 crime ring, endless chaos.
Yeah. Better Call Saul meets Thelma and Louise meets Big Lebowski. All set to kind of a gritty background. It's basically a band on a run.
With a really kick-ass soundtrack.
With a really kick-ass sound. We're going to start, hopefully, we want to start the series with All Along the Watchtower by Jimi Hendrix. And, that's going to put us off on the right foot. And then we get, deep tracks from all kinds of artists.
So imagine a band on tour, but this band is actually on the run.
Yeah. Running from the law as well as sort of the cartel or...
Yeah. This crime ring that they have accidentally enmeshed themselves in.
Yeah, so they're 2 sort of sharp-witted, a little bit crass chicks, and we get to experience their sort of, craziness. Chloe and Lizzie are the 2 main characters. They're once more like sort of local famous rockers. Back in their late teens, early 20s. And they sort of ran into issues, which we discover in the series, that basically kind of akin to Thelma and Louise, if you watch that, and it's certainly, a classic, but...
And we wanted to start their story when they're sort of in their mid to late 30s, like they're pushing 40, and they're facing that very somber reality check of, oh my God, what the fuck have I done with my life? Why haven't I done the thing that I really wanted to do? Because I'm not happy with my life as it is right now. I'm struggling to make ends meet, and we're just playing shitty gigs together. There's got to be something more.
Yeah.
And in their search for that something more, they accidentally fall into the...
the wrong crowd, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil it. I don't want to say exactly what happens, but they just chase down the wrong dream. I don't know.
Yeah, well, maybe by the end of the series it becomes the right dream, but it's sort of all a metaphor for how we really have to have a lot happen in our lives for us to actually go for our dreams.
Yeah.
And why is that? And why does it take, such a huge event in our lives to feel like we need to do something every day that is our passion? And
so if you have ever felt like I work this dead-end 9-to-5 job and I wish I was doing more, why didn't I pursue my music? Why didn't I pursue my art? Why didn't I just audition for more plays? Or why didn't I start my business? Then Chloe and Lizzie are your people because they're going through that and they are given this opportunity to go after their dreams, but in a way that they didn't expect.
Right. And so they make some kind of dicey decisions a little bit along the way, but they end up sort of striking a deal with the cartel a little bit in a way.
Well, let's get into it.
Okay, let's get into it. So
they find this somewhat mysterious bag of cash. They're broke. They are really, like I said, struggling to make ends meet. And so this cash is like, hey, this is our moment to really invest in ourselves and invest in our dreams. But
Yeah, so the cash comes with a few strings attached, and I mean, basically, it's not their cash, so obviously there's strings. They don't think they're going to get caught, of course. They go spend the cash promptly on a lot of stuff, and then that catches up to them.
so the core idea of Queens of Noise revolves around the two 30-something, almost 40-something rock musicians, Chloe and Lizzie, whose somewhat, dissatisfied lives take a dramatic turn when they become entangled in the crime ring that was connected to that bag of money they found.
Yeah, and so basically, unexpected twists. They get a shot at redemption and actually reigniting their dreams and their rock stardom, if you will. So, but there's a lot of cost to that. Their safety and their freedom.
Right. And so what we want to explore throughout the series is their past, what sort of got them to this point. Why didn't they go after the thing that they wanted to go after if they claimed to be, doing pretty well at this thing early on in life? And we're also mostly tracking them as they go on tour on the run. And so with the short film, what we aim to achieve is a sort of truncated look at what we want to include in the first pilot episode of the TV series.
Yeah, so we felt like really as fairly new to this sort of like narrative filmmaking as the directors and writers, we felt like biting off a 45-minute pilot might be a little bit too much for us to chew on over the summer. And really, if we could, we'd probably want to shoot the whole thing, in a 7 days or something like that. But we decided that we're going to condense it and write a short version, 12 to 15 pages. And so that's what we've done for hopefully producing this summer.
And so we want to sort of introduce you a little bit more to Chloe and Lizzie, the main characters of Queens of Noise. Chloe is the bass player. Lizzie's the guitarist. They're sort of like a White Stripes. They don't have a drummer.
Yeah.
I mean, the White Stripes had a drummer and a guitarist. They didn't have a bass player.
Right.
Yeah, no bass player.
Yeah.
This time we have a bass player and a guitar player.
Right.
But they are like separate but compatible, or different but compatible personality types. Chloe's a little bit more pragmatic, a little bit more cautious. Is this really what we should be doing? Lizzie's much more in your face and quick to shoot from the hip. And again, they just sort of work with each other because they have what the other person needs. And that's why they've been friends for so long, is they feel like they're kind of one another's family.
Right. Yeah, just sort of like they feed off each other's.
Right. But the reason, so if you think about what we said earlier, they are like, if Natasha Lyonne played either one of these characters, they're sort of very confident in their own skin and very witty and very, I don't know how else you would describe her. Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
They're just really, really good people.
Yeah, just cool.
Just cool folks.
Cool folks who feel a little beat down by life, though.
Yeah.
You know, as
we kind of do.
As we get.
Yeah.
And so part of what we hope to explore is that, like, reclaiming that part of yourself that you lose when you say yes to security and no to your sort of wilder dreams.
Yeah.
That's not a Taylor Swift quote, by the way.
Are you sure that's not a Swiftie line?
That's me. # me. Friendship and loyalty is a really big theme. And if you see on the pitch deck, if you're a fan of Practical Magic, you love that relationship between Sally and Jillian, this is another project that you are going to be into because Chloe's more of the Sally and Lizzie's more of the Jillian. Those are just for the practical magic fans
Okay.
out there.
All right, that's fine with me.
But, you know, they have a somewhat fraught relationship. They're friends, they're loyal to each other, but at what cost? And, you know, how does their friendship stay strong throughout this sort of endeavor? Almost, well, very much, I was going to say life or death. I don't know if I want to go there. So.
Yeah. Could be life or death.
Could be life or death.
Yeah, so we're really talking about self-discovery and identity.
Yeah.
And sort of, you know, how through your adventures and life, you know, you can rediscover your strengths, you can redefine yourself.
Right.
You can make what you want out of life.
And also you can become the thing or the person that you always wanted to be. It just might look a little different because you're a little further on in life. So it's like a little bit of a story about late bloomers too.
Yeah.
And through that they find their power. So another theme is that empowerment and resilience that they have to find. Both Chloe and Lizzie have to find to be like, okay, I guess we're doing this. So some other like places that we've drawn inspiration from. It's one of my favorites is Bill and Ted. They're kind of like a female Bill and Ted. Not as stonery, not
quite that, yeah.
The high school idiot.
Stupid.
Yeah, they're further along in their lives, so they have more of that savvy. And that's why I think Big Lebowski works, is because, you know...
They think they're savvy.
Yeah.
Sort
I
of.
think, just like Walter thinks he's got everything figured
Yeah,
out.
exactly.
And the dude thinks he's got it covered.
Right.
And but they are not in a great place in their lives either, you know. And so there's a lot of realism there to play with. But so we got the like diner feel. We have the like, oh my God, what are we gonna do as a pair? And then this sort of, you know, we're friends figuring out this situation. So if you like gritty, character-driven dramas with a blend of dark humor and suspense,
this could be your deal. Your thing. Just saying.
just saying. Not going to tell you what to watch, but you know.
Yeah, but we're going to make it, and you guys get to be part of it.
And if anybody has seen the fourth episode of Poker Face?
Poker Face?
Season
I
1?
think so.
I think it's Rest in Metal.
It's on here right now. Episode 4.
Episode 4, Season 1, Episode 4 of Poker Face. That's a big feel of what we're going for. Because they have that washed up band still trying to make it. Although Chloe and Lizzie don't kill anybody. So.
Yeah, there's not.
Spoiler alert.
Or do they?
Or do they? So that's the gist of Queens of Noise. Primarily, we focused on what we're going to be exploring in the short film, what we want to actually shoot and produce. We also talked a little bit, or I should say teased a little bit about the series. Mm-hmm. And so if that is something that you are so excited about already.
Yeah, share it. Subscribe to our Substack.
So hit the subscribe button. I hate saying that, but you know, hit subscribe. If you have anything that stuck out to you as we've gone through this pitch deck or in this podcast, be sure to leave a comment and we will get back to you. I love talking on the comments.